Welcome to Let's Listen, a video podcast in which we have conversations with IBMers about their own neurodiversity and their careers within IBM. I'm Andrew Williams, your IBM host, and today we'll be listening to Rodrigo Perez, a test specialist within IBM, who joined IBM in January of this year, 2022, and he currently works at, well, you can tell us, which site are you working at, Rodrigo?
I'm working currently in Mexico City. I started on January of this year.
Okay, so welcome to you. And look, we've been talking to a lot of IBM neurodivergents in the last few months from around the world in this podcast, including Canada, the USA, and Australia. So it's really exciting to talk to new IBMers from Mexico. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about you as a person, your personal challenges, and about you as an IBMer and what you're discovering.
Well, my name is Rodrigo. I'm 30 years old. And for me, IBM is an excellent opportunity. I came to IBM through Specialist Turn. I'm part of the Ignite ASD hiring program. And I'm really excited and thankful for being part of IBM. I studied industrial engineering, and then I got a major in photography, which is kind of odd since I now work in technology. And none of my previous studies have anything to do with what I do now. And I have two particular interests. Before college, I practiced archery. I was a national champion, and now I'm really interested into collecting watches. So that's a little bit about me. And for IBM, I think I'm making good progress. I have less than 6 months in the company. And on May, I became billable to the client I work with. My managers are awesome, and I feel really cared for in IBM. Both my boss, which is who is Angie, and my manager Claudia. They both are very comforting and caring in regards to how I feel and if I need any accommodations. And I have not needed to ask for any of them. I recently had a talk with Claudia and with another manager, and I became aware how caring my direct supervisor or my boss is, because I have not needed to ask for any accommodations, and I feel really at home here. Like I talk to my therapist a lot about my work, and we have a therapist from Specialist Turn, so I talk a lot about that, and I feel really cared for, like a big hug from part of my supervisors.
So how did your neurodiversity impact the interview process, or did you need a guidance during the interview process as a result of your neurodiversity?
Not really. I came to IBM through a Specialist Turn. We had a 4-week training course, and we were 10. Like the first filter, they selected 10 autistic persons to be part of that training course. And after 4 weeks, they selected six of us. It was really challenging. I was working another job, and not quite a job. I was selling food. Like I had a little store on the street, like a
Mm.
little stand with a small tent and a light bulb, and I was
Yeah.
selling food on the street to support myself and my girlfriend. We were both working there, and we did that on the nights on a small food market in Mexico. So it was really challenging to be up at 8 a.m. for the training course, and I was going to bed about uh, 2 or 3 in the morning.
Mm.
So it was really challenging in that way. But the people at the Specialist Turn are awesome. We had a teacher, Javi, who worked us through ISTQB testing, and
Mm.
he trained us in ISTQB. We had work and people skills training, like time management training and all sorts of trainings that make it easier for you to work in a company. So
Yeah.
I did not feel that my neurodiversity was a challenge, or I did not feel it impacted me in a negative way. And now that I am at IBM, I even feel my neurodiversity is an advantage.
Yeah.
Uh,
So how is it an advantage in your day-to-day job? That's an interesting comment.
I work testing an IVR, an interactive voice system,
Mm-hmm.
and we go through lines and lines of config tables and code, and the ability to process a big quantity of information is, for me, is an advantage. I can spot small defects like an inverted number, because I tend to do that when I'm stressed. Like I tend to invert numbers, like to change 913 to 931. So it's easy for me to spot them because I do it when I'm stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Or small discrepancies between the code number for some application and the name, because we work with like 25 applications within the IVR. So if there is a problem with the name and the numerical code from that application, it can also bring up some defects later. So the ability to detect small, to be nitpicky, which normally it isn't an advantage and it's frowned upon, here it is an ability. And to be able to get to the very, very fine details is also an ability. And as well, as part of IBM, we are required some mandatory courses, and the ability to go through them really fast and to learn fast is also an advantage for as part of my neurodiversity.
Mm.
So
Look, I'm thrilled to hear about the dramatic change this has had on your life. Um, Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how having a full-time job in IBM has changed your home life.
that's quite a topic.
Yeah.
I got my diagnosis back in August last year,
Yeah.
and after that, my life started changing. Like I had a really tough time finding an unstable job.
Mm.
I had a really tough time communicating with my supervisors or my bosses. And I felt I could not hold a job. After my diagnosis, everything like took shape, and I realized it was not my fault. I was playing life on hard mode.
Mm. Mm.
And going through Specialist Turn and coming to IBM has gave me a sense of fulfillment and achievement that I did not have before. My work is valued. the client I work with is thrilled to have me in the team. Um, I told you before, I became billable on May, and I think I'm one of the first 2 or 3 in the whole program here in Mexico to be billable to the client, which is
so that's a form of promotion.
Becoming billable is a kind of promotion, and being one of the first is an achievement and a feat by itself. So I now have a stable job.
Yeah.
This line of work is mentally tiring, but for me that's something good, because the jobs I did previously to being on IBM, those I did not think in those jobs. I used to call them like I was making tortillas, and that's like a fully automated process. Like you know how to do. Like you don't have to think to make a tortilla, and well, that's part of being like Mexican. I don't want to fall into a stereotype, but most Mexicans know how to make a tortilla, and you don't have to think a lot about it. So for me, that's what it was like, and here they take full advantage of my brain, of my capabilities, and things that were frowned upon on previous jobs, like having an initiative and wanting to improve some processes. They are not looked up. They are not looked. They are not frowned upon here in IBM. They are welcome and celebrated and appreciated, and I can be myself, and I can unmask. Like I do not have to mask most of the time here in IBM, so that's also an improvement of my life.
I'm just so excited to hear that story, Rodrigo, and I'd be thrilled to catch up with you next time I'm in Mexico. Very exciting to hear about what you had to say. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this Let's Listen podcast. I'd really like to thank you for your time today and wish you the best for your future within IBM. If anyone who's listening to this podcast have any questions, feel free to post it below. Otherwise, you can find more information about neurodiversity at IBM at ibm.biz/let's listen. And as always, thanks for listening to us today at IBM.